Hey, man.
What's going on?
Have you ever heard of John Romulus Brinkley II?
Oh. I've heard of John Romulus Brinkley, but you're talking about his son.
The second, yeah.
The second.
John R. Brinkley.
Which means there's a third, right?
Allegedly.
Because, like, you don't just do the second. That's junior.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's
the presence of a second implies
the presence of a third.
Yeah.
And also the presence of a first.
Well, maybe. I'm going to name my kid something weird. The second. Yeah. Isn't Patrick Mahomes like the third or whatever?
I'm pretty sure he's the second. Is he the second or the third?
I think he's third.
I think
he's Patrick Mahomes the third.
I think he's the second.
No, I'm pretty sure he's the third. Because I'm pretty sure his like logo, his personal logo is PM3.
Oh, you're right.
And so there's a lot of pressure. You know, if he has a son.
No,
right?
He's the second. He's the second.
Oh. They only have daughters though, right?
Yeah. I think they only have one daughter. I don't know. I don't follow him that closely.
I'm pretty sure there's another one.
There's a new one?
There's a new one. Anyway.
Okay. So this
is a Patrick Mahomes gossip podcast now. I married my adult bully. And I don't know what happened, but as soon as we got married, it's something in her brain just went, he's not going to leave now. And she just got mean.
Be careful. Be careful. The dude at 79 will cut you up too, but he's not a doctor. He's
and 480 is just full of goats. I'm just going to take those feelings and I'm going to shove them down.
That's what I'm telling you, man. It's better that way.
That's what I'm telling you, man.
Things I learned last night.
This is John R. Brinkley.
Oh.
The second.
This is him before he became Colonel Sanders.
Yeah, here he is after he became Colonel Sanders. I was gonna make the same joke.
Is this a digitally colorized photo?
This is a colorized photo of him.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the hat they put in when they colorized it too.
I know, they were like, we're tired of doing this.
We need to give him the hat.
I can't do his hair. I'm not that good of a digital color artist. Let me just throw a hat on him.
Here's a picture of him pointing and yelling at somebody. Probably staged.
Okay.
It looks like a stage deal. Here's a picture of him holding someone's baby. It's not his. I know that for a fact because of the story. Don't read that.
I know that for a fact.
And here's a picture of him.
I can't read that. What are you saying? When you say don't read that, it's scribbles.
And here's a picture of him resting his hand on a bald man's head.
Oh.
I love this era of America where people just took really weird pictures, like really serious, weird pictures. This is his business partner. This was the photo him and his business partner.
This was on their website?
Took together. This was on their website. This was on their About Us page.
What year is this?
Like 1920 or something like that.
Okay.
When this one was taken. Yeah, very... I can't get over it.
It's not that funny, but it's like...
Can we take this picture?
You know, you're the person who looks at people planking on the internet and you're like, ah!
Planking was funny.
Yep. Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah, we can take this picture in a few years when you're bald.
Yeah, it's a good call. Wait, who do you think's going to go bald first?
You, 100%. 100%. Not even a question.
I don't like how confident you are in that.
I don't know. Let's look through the footage from 3 years ago and just compare it to now.
Just every time I turn my head back a little bit.
People have been pointing it out, Tim.
No one's been pointing it out. Just my wife. My wife is the only person.
Someone commented on it the other day.
I think it's because we brought it up, right? We brought this up before. Shut up. Okay. He was born in July 8th, 1885 in Beta, North Carolina.
Now he's mad.
John Brinkley Sr., his father, the first John R. Brinkley. He was married 5 times. First marriage ended due to the fact that apparently North Carolina had rules for marriages. One of them being that you had to be old enough to get married. And his first marriage, he was too young to get married.
He was too young?
Yeah, he was too young. But
like in the 1800s?
Yeah, so the state was like, no, that marriage doesn't count.
But what age was he?
I can't find that information. I just know that his first marriage ended
in the
because they said he
1800s it was
too young.
like 12. And he's like an 8-year-old. That's what I'm saying. You know, like it was already.
Maybe.
Okay.
So his first marriage got overturned by the government. But the rest of his marriages didn't.
All 5 to the same woman.
Oddly enough, his 4 marriages, he always married women who were significantly younger than him. And
even
they
his
always,
second one?
Yeah. And
So his first one, I just want to make sure I understand. His first one gets overturned because he's too young to get married. And then I'm assuming the second one's not that long after.
I don't know how long after it was, but I do know he was an older man marrying younger women. So I assume, based on the stories of the other wives, that he waited a few years after his first. His first marriage was a hard one for him to swallow. It took him years to get over that.
It's literally his childhood love.
Yeah.
You know?
It wasn't even his high school sweetheart. It was his kindergarten sweetheart, and the state took her from him.
The state took mine too.
I lost her to the state. That's like if you...
I lost her to the state. That sounds like some domestic issues going on.
No, I like the idea that like...
No, please finish your sentence.
It's not going to get much better.
Okay, cool.
I like that the idea
Content warning.
I like the idea that you go on your honeymoon and like you go like somewhere exotic to like a national park and you're camping and then your spouse goes missing and then you come back and what you say is I lost her to the state. As in like whatever state you were in where you lost her. The state took her from me.
Yeah, me and my wife went looking for treasure
and I lost
in
her
the suspicious mountains.
The suspicious mountains.
So
married a whole bunch.
Okay. Was he divorced every time, or did he just marry 5 women?
They died. They were always younger than him, and they always died.
You know that my grandpa's been married 13 times?
No.
Have I not told you that?
No.
My grandfather has been legally married 13 times.
That's exhausting.
Yeah. My grandma was number 2. And then...
Divorce?
Most of them. And then like the last 3 have passed away because he's old now.
I mean, that's... They
the
always say...
The last 2 have passed away.
They always say, like, if you've been divorced more than twice, then it's probably like...
No, he never got it. He never was like, "Oh, I'm the problem." He sent me an invite to his last wedding. It was like in Florida. He was like, "Why don't you come down for it?"
Yeah, yes, his great grandson was his best man.
I wrote back and said, "I'll catch the next one." And so,
have you seen that Larry David bit where he's like, "Would you ask him if he would travel for a wedding?" He's like on like Jimmy Kimmel, I think. Have you seen that?
No.
Jimmy Kimmel's like, what's the farthest you would travel for a wedding? And he's like, I don't know, throw one out. And it's like the guy told him destination wedding, and he's like, no, I'm not gonna go to that. And like, what if it's your like daughter? And he's like, I'm not going to that. He's like, and he was like, no, if you're expecting me to fly, he's like, I'm not going. He's like, an hour and a half drive is the farthest I'll go for a wedding.
Okay,
that's a good point.
I don't think it's a good point.
I think it's a good point.
You flew to mine.
I was on vacation already.
I don't think we want to have that fight on a podcast. I don't think that you're a safe person for me to be vulnerable with.
Okay, so
I'm just going to take those feelings and I'm going to shove them down.
That's what I'm telling you, man. It's better that way.
That's what I'm telling you, man. All right, Morty, go ahead. So all 4 of his wives died
before him, and they were younger than him, significantly younger than him. His 5th wife, Sarah.
I don't know. People died in the 1800s.
Yeah, just of like, you get the
just of
common
stuff.
cold and you're dead.
Yeah.
You look at the sun for too long and you die. A lot of them, there wasn't anything better to do.
But look at the sun all day? All right.
Until it kills you.
Come inside.
I can't stop. That sun's going to kill you. So
he died doing what he loved. looking at the sun.
His fifth wife, Sarah, had John II, which is kind of wild that waited until his fifth wife to name one of his kids after himself.
Did he have other children?
Yes.
Oh.
Ran out of name ideas. It was like, just name this one after me.
How many kids did he have? How many kids do you have before you do one named after you? You know?
I'm not sure. I know he has at least one sibling because it's talked about him. But I don't know how many. Like, it doesn't have a list of siblings in his
There's
Wikipedia
one thing
page.
for the oldest sibling to be like the favorite and be like, this is Junior. Quite another for like the fifth kid to be like the old Junior. And you're like, or the other one used to be the second.
The second.
And then he came along
kid
and was
the
like,
second.
I like him better.
Sit him at the dining room table. Hey, so your name is not John Brinkley II anymore.
He traded it.
Yeah.
He traded it for a bowl of soup.
You're now going to go by Sawyer. I don't know. That's an old name, right?
Sawyer?
Anyways, so Sarah had him out of wedlock, and then they got married because that's what you did in that time. And while John was a child, one of Sarah's nieces, also named Sarah, moved in with them.
Okay.
When she was like in
Sarah
her early...
the second.
Well, they figured that'd be too confusing, so they started calling her Sally. So
is that real?
Yeah, they call her Aunt Sally instead of
that'd be so
niece
annoying.
Sally.
You move in somewhere and they're like, you're okay. No, we already have too many Tims in the room. We got Tim and Aunt Tommy.
Aunt.
Sorry, Aunt. Wherever you're from, I don't know. They put Sally in there?
So Sally lives in the house, right?
Okay.
Sarah, his mother, dies of tuberculosis when he was 5 years old.
Okay.
And then his father, John, died when he was 10.
So now it's just Aunt Sally.
Now it's just him and Aunt Sally. So Aunt Sally moved in because she didn't have a place to go. Now she has a kid. And probably all the others too, actually. But those ones didn't do anything historically valuable. So we don't know about them. But
they're not any dollar bills.
Well, neither is this guy. But he made a lot of them. He went to school in like a log cabin school.
Okay.
That had classes like 2 or 3 months out of the year. Depending on how good the year was, they gave him an extra month if it was good. Graduated at 16.
Sure.
And got a job as a town-to-town mailman. So he didn't put the mail in your box, but he carried it between towns.
Yeah.
So he had a big bag of, here's all the mail for the next town, and he'd carry it over.
Thank you for explaining how the mail works.
Well, I want to make sure that everyone understands that he was not putting anything
What's
in boxes.
the furthest you could send a letter? You got to imagine, like back then, the mailman has to be real annoyed if you put one that's like far away.
Yeah.
And then you just know, like, he's not going to take it.
I'll take that in like 3 weeks.
How long were they actually delivering letters to the North Pole before someone was like, we should stop doing this?
They still deliver them.
Okay.
They take them to NORAD. They take them all to NORAD.
And they waste our valuable tax dollars.
Of course they do.
By forcing those people to read them.
Read the letter. Make sure it's nothing
out loud.
Make sure it's not terrorism.
We're going to watch these little kids these days.
And so while he was in that log cabin school there was another girl going to school there named Sally, not his aunt. But she was a year younger than him, and she bullied him his whole life.
Too young to get married, though. You're younger than him.
Bullied him his whole life. They were enemies, not friends. Sally did a lot of emotional damage on him as a child.
Okay.
Anyways, grew up, became the mailman.
Are there any details of how she bullied him?
No. I just know that she bullied him.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, eventually there are, but that's different. Became a mailman.
Yeah.
And while mailing, he got into telegraphing. They taught him how to do that.
Okay.
And so he got a job in New York as a telegraph operator and then moved to Jersey, while he was in Jersey telegraphing, he gets a call. Sally's sick.
Aunt
Sally's sick. So he comes back and he gets back to Beta. By the time he gets there, she dies. Lo and behold, other Sally, bully Sally, comforts him. They fall in love. They get married. And she continues to bully him.
Was that his first wife?
That's his first wife.
The one that they're too young to get married.
No. This is the real John R. Brinkley now. This is, the second. This is the second.
Sorry.
Yeah. So this is his first wife.
Okay, I was confused. His dad was the one who got married and all that stuff.
Yeah, that was his dad.
Hey, thanks for checking out this episode. If you like this one, or if you don't like this one, there's so many other ones. All right, if you're halfway through this one and you're like, I hate this, I want out, go check out the Richmond TV Vigilante. It's an episode we did a while ago. It's a little bit of a shorter one, but one morning in Richmond, Virginia, these people wake up with just TVs on their front porch. No idea where they came from until one person checked their Ring doorbell footage and got a decent surprise. So Richmond TV Vigilante is a great episode if you're going to go check that out later. But for now, back to this one.
Now this is
JR2.
JR2. Yeah. Marries his childhood bully.
Okay.
Sally, and they moved to Chicago.
I married my adult bully, and I don't know what happened, but as soon as we got married, it's something in her brain just went, he's not going to leave now, and she just got mean, you know? Like her jokes sometimes, I go, okay.
Oh.
That was a little too real.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like making fun of me.
Yeah. Well, you're easy to make fun of.
The other day, I was walking out my backpack. She grabbed both straps, pulled them as tight as she could, and she went, waddle out the door, little turtle. I'm like a grown man. And I was like, my wife is...
And then you went...
And I went...
Turtle. While you cried.
Yeah, and she's like throwing lettuce at me, dude. She's like freaking...
like it was fun.
Making it rain kale all over me.
And you open up the door and that porch bandit was stealing your stuff while you're turtling out the door.
Get back here.
I'm a little turtle. Lettuce hanging out your mouth.
And my neighbors caught the whole thing on their Ring doorbell. I hear them. I hear them watching
my Ring.
And they're just
because they turn the mic on whenever they watch.
Yeah,
they don't realize that I can hear
they don't
them.
understand how Ring doorbells work. And my neighbors don't have a Ring doorbell. They just have a guy who sits out there.
And he like cracks the door. He's like, hey, there's someone at your front door.
Hey, something's going on out here.
There's a person at your front door.
Taking extensive notes.
Drawing sketches.
He
like
also
a
watched that lady
officer.
steal my stuff.
Yeah, but it's not his job.
That's true.
He doesn't get paid enough to intervene. He just gets paid enough to draw a sketch.
Anyway, she really did that to me, though. And she's just so comfortable, and she's a little too comfortable now. You know. I go, hey,
maybe you should bully
I still
her.
have feelings. Yeah, I'm gonna bully her back.
Yeah. That's what I always did to my bullies.
Okay.
Return the bull.
I'm gonna lure her into a tunnel with my friends. You know.
That wasn't bullying. That was just
back
funny.
when we were into scaring third graders. So he marries Sally.
He marries Sally. They moved to Chicago, and he starts going to medical school.
Okay.
But it was like one of those medical schools where it's like, does that count? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, but that's every medical school in the 1800s. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he's going to this medical school. After 3 years, though.
When they were just like, you know what cures a cold? Meth. There you go. That's what they were doing.
Actually, yes. And so he's going to medical school. He's doing the thing.
It would also cure your
deviated septum.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. So he is going to medical school. And after 3 years in medical school, he gets kicked out for not paying any of his tuition the whole time. And they're like, we've let you do this for 3 years. Come on. And so he moves to Kansas City, finds another questionable medical school in Kansas City, starts going to school there. Same thing happens. Doesn't pay his
Arthur
his
Bryant's
bills.
medical school.
This is before they got into barbecue.
Dr. Bryant's.
Dr. Bryant's medical school. Yeah, then he got his license taken away, but he was like, you know what's pretty similar to the meth that I've been selling people? Barbecue sauce. So he just put some brown food coloring in it and put it on some ribs.
Okay.
So he gets kicked out of that medical school again, and he decides, wait a second, I don't need to actually go to the school. And so he calls up a diploma mill in Kansas City, and gets a medical license and just pays for it and starts practicing medicine.
Okay.
Sidebar, his dad did this. Not like the fake. His dad was a real doctor. But
Sure.
he benefited from the Civil War where like he didn't have to actually get a license. He just got a war license, you know?
Got it.
And then he coasted off that the rest of his life.
Sure.
But he wasn't doing well because he was in a small town where like there just wasn't like he wasn't like a rich doctor. He was like a
Yeah, and if you're in a small town, you got to go make people sick.
yeah,
You know?
which is why all of his wives died.
Yeah.
was-
yeah, dude. That's annoying.
He was creating.
It's like,
the
dude, if all of your
pathogens.
wives die and you're a doctor, and it's like, you got to live with that of like,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
why you weren't getting good business, dude.
Exactly.
It's
Everyone's
bro,
like,
I'm going to
all
go to a
of
doctor
his
whose
wives
wife died.
died.
He couldn't even save his wife. That's just bad PR.
It's bad doctoring. Yeah, doctor.
That's like when you go to a barber and they all got bad haircuts.
Yeah. You're like, I don't know. if
You
I
never
can
want to
trust
go to the
you.
barber who has a good haircut
Why?
because he's not the one who did it. Someone else in that shop did.
So you want to go to the one that has the worst
Just
haircut?
kidding.
in
They
the
all
room?
cut their own hair.
Have you ever tried that?
What, to go to the one with the worst haircut?
No, to cut your own hair.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's really hard. Anyways, so he gets a diploma mill, gets a fake license, starts
Sure.
practicing medicine
Okay.
in Kansas City, and it goes decent for him, like decent, right? Doing this
Where
thing.
at in Kansas City? Do we know?
I don't know, somewhere in Kansas City. Does decent, but starts to have some weird rumors pop up about him.
What year is this now?
Like 1910s, something like that.
Okay.
Starts to have some weird rumors pop up about him. Starts facing some trouble. Ends up in St. Louis where he meets that bald guy.
Yeah.
This guy. And they got into medicine, a unique kind of medicine, which was lying. And so what they did is they started selling German electric juice. And it was a
German electric juice?
yeah, and so it was a cure-all, pretty much. Like it could whatever's wrong with you, drink our German electric juice.
Oh.
And they were selling it, and everyone was really excited about it. And it did pretty well until they got caught because it was just water with food coloring in it. And so,
Really?
yeah, it was literally just water with food coloring. And
How'd they get caught? Someone came to their little shop and caught them, and they were just like with the hose and just.
it's this is how electric juice is made in Germany. This is the real deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they started facing like legal issues in
And
St.
he's
Louis.
just over there just. You can take as much as you want before it's packaged.
So they started facing some legal issues in St. Louis, and so he skipped town to a small town in Kansas,
Okay.
where his life really begins.
Yeah.
And while he's in Kansas, he opens up a little.
With the bald guy?
No, the bald guy. He ditched the bald guy. And
Bald guy stayed in St. Louis?
The bald guy got in trouble. The bald guy did face the music.
Took the.
Yeah, he took the fall.
'Kay.
Yeah, and anyways, moves to Kansas, starts practicing medicine in Kansas, and this is where the meat of his adventure begins.
Okay.
While he's in
And
Kansas,
his wife, Sally, is bullying him all along the way, right? She's coming with him?
yeah, so she's bullying him all along the way. She actually leaves him a few times, and while he was facing legal trouble in St. Louis, she leaves him for good. Yeah, and so that's a good point. She leaves him for good, and he meets another woman named Myrna or something like that.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly what her name is. And they end up getting married, but Minnie. Minerva Talenta Jones calls her Minnie.
Okay.
And Sally finds out, and they never actually got a divorce. So Sally comes and she gets really mad and bullies him some more.
And then he gets back with Sally?
No, their relationship ended. They got formally divorced after this.
Well, she's like, we never formally got divorced. You can't see anybody?
You can't see my. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, the only reason I brought up Sally is because of the bullying thing. I thought it was funny that he married his bully.
Okay.
He's in Kansas, and he opens up his practice. And
Sure.
One day while he's in his practice, a guy comes in, and he's been practicing medicine for a little bit. He's been taking pictures like this of him doing surgeries.
Okay.
A guy comes in his small town in Kansas, Milford, Kansas. Been buried by a lake now, a reservoir. The town doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, interesting.
Because of what he did. They said we should just flood the whole town.
Sure.
No, so a guy comes in and says, hey, I've got a medical issue. Can you help me out, doc? And he's like, well, what's your problem? And he said he's struggling with impotence. And he said they've been trying to have a baby for a long time and they can't. And real professional. Let me actually pull up the exact quote. They're in Kansas, right? So like they're like, I mean, Kansas is a land where there's a lot of animals just about. like farm animals. There's a lot of farm animals about because there's a lot of farms.
Okay.
And so real professional.
You need to get to the quote quicker than you are right now.
Real professional. He says, well, points out the window to a goat and says, a pair of those goat glands in you would probably take care of your problem. And
okay.
And the guy says, I think you got something there. And so he agrees to try out an experimental surgery from this, not a doctor, but like,
yeah,
as far as he knows, is a doctor, to surgically implant the goat's testicles in him to try to cure his impotence.
Okay. No reason. So he's just in his doctor's office, and he just looked out the window and he goes, like he literally is looking around the room for like, oh, how can I help this guy? How can I
help? There's an idea. Yeah. And so he tries it. But here's the thing. Remember, he's not a doctor. And so
he doesn't know how any of that
works. So he doesn't hook him up. Like he just puts them in him. He does this surgery.
I don't understand what you mean.
Like these are just loosely stuck inside this dude's body. These goat glands. We'll call them glands. That's what they call them in all the documentation anyways.
Sure.
So just loosely shoves them inside this dude. And
shoves. Okay.
And miraculously, the guy has a baby.
Goat.
And so, needless to say, they named the child Billy. And that's a true story. That's not a joke. They really named the kid Billy. And he becomes a giant deal. Brinkley. He gets in the news, and that's the baby. This is Billy. This is the goat baby.
Part goat.
And this is the article of Brinkley.
Uses goat glands to cure sterility. Okay.
Which this is an article from the Kansas City Star.
First goat gland baby.
Yeah. It becomes huge news. Here's another article. Great artwork.
My gosh. Wait, is this like an this? Like this is he's the devil kind of thing?
No, this is praising him.
Oh, really? Because it looks aggressive.
It does. The article took a goat
head. Says preaches fundamentalism, practices goat gland science.
And that headline is the goat horns in a drawing of a goat.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like that seems like some demonic imagery there.
It does, but it's very this becomes a giant deal. And people far and wide are like, oh, you mean like there's a cure. And so people start traveling to see him to get some goat glands.
Okay.
And he's charging $500 a procedure, which translated for inflation is $10,000. To get goat glands inserted into people. And he realizes, wait a second, like this is a cash cow, a cash goat, if you will. And he says he starts coming out and
you got to give it goat milk though for the first couple months though. That's my recommendation. You got to feed the child with goat milk.
He starts to say, oh, wait a second. It's not just sterility. Like that's not the only problem. This is a panacea. Any issue you got, goat glands will cure it. And so
See, he always shoots for the moon. Too much. Too much. You can try to solve one problem. You make a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, he did make a lot of money because everyone was like, I got tuberculosis. Will that help me? And he's like, yeah, you got to put it above your ribs. And so he was just implanting these in random parts of different people's bodies because they had different diseases. And it was literally, it was essentially he was implanting a tumor into people's bodies because he was like, yeah, it'll heal you. And it was working really well for him. He was making a lot of money. Men and women lining up to get these goat glands inserted in them because they believed that
this was the fad.
It kind of was. Like it would heal you of pretty much anything.
Yeah.
And so he's got lines out the door.
Oh, I've got anxiety. You know what would help with that?
He's like looking out the window. You know what animal helps with that? You come into the doctor's office. It's like Dr. Dolittle, and like all the animals are everywhere.
Is it like Dr. Dolittle? Is he talking with his goats?
I've never seen the movie. I don't know what it's about.
You could have chosen. You could have said Evan Almighty, where he's surrounded by animals, and you went. It's like Dr. Dolittle, where he's having conversations with the goats.
Hey, goat. Crazy idea.
Is he growing his own goats then? I guess he's
yeah. I don't know where the goats are coming from.
Okay,
I don't know where the goats are coming from. Hey, thanks for checking out our show. If you like it and you want to support, be a part of what we're doing here, you can do that by becoming a patron. What happens there is you get to be in the community. We have a Discord with our hosts and producers. We have a lot of fun. We're super active in there every day. You get access to ad-free content a week before everybody else. And we have a Zoom every month with our patrons. We hang out, we eat pizza, we get to know you a little bit better. It's a blast. And there's a ton of other different benefits like merch discounts, birthday messages, things like that are super cool. If you want to be in that, you can just text TILLN to 66866 and that'll get you right in there. If not, we're just super glad that you're here and thanks for watching our show. But he's making a lot of money, gets very wealthy, and so he makes the logical next step. He builds a radio tower and he gets into broadcast.
To advertise.
Yeah, and so he is actually a pioneer in advertising.
Goat Gland FM.
He becomes a pioneer in advertising.
Goatglands.com.
Patent pending. He becomes a pioneer in advertising because he was one of the first people in radio to broadcast, but to run ads. And so he would run ads for his goat glands in his broadcasts. And he did an early version of like an Ask Me Anything, where people could write in their medical questions and he would broadcast the answers to them. But he, remember, is not a doctor.
He's like, you got a goat on your property?
What I need you to do is make a answer is somehow incision right below your elbow.
You can do it. If I can do it, you can do it.
Shove a goat gland in there. You don't have to do anything with it. Just shove it in there and then duct tape yourself back up.
Yeah.
You'll be healed.
They got duct tape back then. So, okay.
If $2,000 changes your life, you've got other problems. And so he's doing broadcast radio, advertising for the goat gland stuff, right?
Right.
And that really starts to take it to a whole new level. People are traveling from way further because they're hearing about this on the radio broadcast. And lo and behold, a significant person hears this broadcast and comes to town to find out what's going on. And this is a guy by the name of Morris Fishbein. And Morris Fishbein is...
Fishbein?
Fishbein.
Fishbein.
Fishbein. Jared, your fish beans are out.
Hey, turtle boy. Your fish beans are out.
We call them fish toes. Fishbein worked for the American Medical Association.
Uh-oh.
And he heard about this and he was like, that sounds
made
wrong.
up.
And so he came to observe one of these surgeries to see what was going on. And so he interviewed Brinkley and he asked Brinkley, like, okay, can you tell me more about this procedure and like how it works?
And put goat glands in people.
Well, he says, how can we replicate this so medical institutions across the country can start to implement this thing. And he said, I'm the only one who can do it. No one else can do it. I'm the only one who's able to do this procedure. And the Fishbean's like, okay, can I watch? And he's like, sure. And so he lets him come in and watch the procedure, and he sees it. And Fishbean realizes immediately that
this guy's not a
actually
doctor.
Happening. Yeah.
What do you mean nothing's actually happening?
Well, he's just shoving them in there. Like, there's no actual like medical reason why this should do anything. And in fact, it actually probably causes a lot more harm than good because you have a foreign body just shoved into your body. And so he goes back to the American Medical Association and writes a paper and produces it for their publication, being like, okay, yeah, this guy is someone that no one should ever seek medical attention from. And his license needs to be called into question. And so the American Medical Association starts to come after him, but doesn't actually like pull a trigger on anything. They're just publicizing things within their medical journals about the fact that the goat gland procedure is fake and that Brinkley's doesn't have any serious credentials.
Subtweeting him?
Essentially. The problem is the American Medical Association's journals were
read by doctors.
Yeah. And
not
so all
the public.
Yeah. All the doctors were like, oh, yeah, that guy's a fraud. But the public was hearing this guy on the radio talking with authority, and they were continued to travel to get these procedures done on them. And so Fishbean kind of launches this smear campaign, but the only place he can get published is in the medical journals.
Okay.
And so he's not
being heard.
Yeah, it's not having an effect on the industry, if you will.
Yeah.
And so his radio broadcast just continues to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And finally, the state of Kansas learns from the American Medical Association about his radio show where he's giving medical advice. And so the state of Kansas the medical board in the state of Kansas starts to go through some legislation to regulate radio broadcasts to not allow you to give medical advice over the air. Because they're like, that's probably not good.
Smart.
And so they passed this legislation, and he gets his broadcast shut down. He's not allowed to broadcast at all anymore in the state of Kansas. And so he does what any logical person does.
Moves.
He runs for governor and says, I will run for governor.
And I'm change the law.
Replace the entire medical board and change the law so I can have my radio station back.
Okay.
So he runs for governor, and his campaign was interesting.
Positively will reduce taxes and state expense.
Yeah, so his campaign was interesting. He promised to reduce taxes and open up more lakes than any other governor in the history of Kansas. He was going to open a bunch of lakes, which is a crazy promise to make, coupled with each other, to lower taxes and open a bunch of lakes. I don't know if like lakes are not
free.
Cheap.
Lakes are free.
I'm going to open up so many lakes. But his campaign was going really well because he was actually like a pretty popular person in the state of Kansas for his goat gland surgery and for his radio shows, and for the fact that during the campaign, most of their rallies were like, it's Kansas in the 1930s. And so it's like their campaign rallies are happening in fields somewhere. And he's a rich guy at this point. And so he was flying into all of his rallies and landing at the rally. And everyone was like, oh, look, I want that guy. That guy's cool.
Got it. Okay. It's good to know that this... Cool.
And his campaign's going really...
Okay.
What do you say what you want to say?
I don't want to.
Say what you want to say.
No, I don't want to say it.
And so his campaign's going really, really well.
Sure.
He's got really good odds. He's winning in the polls. And the state of Kansas sees this.
And they go, no.
And they're like, we can't let this guy win. There's no way we're letting this guy become the governor. So they hurriedly pass a law where if you're a write-in vote, because that was an important part about his campaign, he launched his campaign just a little bit too late to be on the ballot. He had to be a write-in. But he was still doing so well on the polls that they thought he was going to get wrote in and actually win the governor. So they passed a law that for write-in votes, you have to print the name exactly as they tell you you have to print the name. And so they wrote, like, you have to write John R. Brinkley.
Sure.
And a lot of people just put John Brinkley. So those votes got thrown out.
Yep.
And so he ended up losing the governor race. But if it weren't for that, most people think he would have actually won because that law that got changed last second.
A little sketchy.
Yeah. And so he lost that race. He tried again the next race and didn't get it. And so now it's been a few years and his business is struggling because of his lack of a radio station.
Yeah.
So he made the decision to move to Del Rio, Texas.
Yeah.
Because Del Rio, Texas, significant thing about where that city is located is it's right along with the Texas-Mexico border. And there was an interesting thing that was happening between the United States and Canada and Mexico at the time. And that was the United States and Canada just got together and passed this legislation about long distance broadcasting.
Okay.
And they split up who has the rights. And the United States and Canada were like, we get all of the rights. And Mexico was like, we want some.
And they're like, no,
you don't. And Mexico was really mad about it. And so Mexico was just like, all right, whatever, fine. We're going to give a bunch of people long distance radio rights. Like, I know we're not supposed to, but we're doing it anyways. Because you guys were rude to us in that thing that we did about it. Like, we got together, we said we're going to do this, and then you guys bullied me. And so we're doing our thing. And so...
And also, we're going to get married.
We're going to get married in a few years, but we'll come back to it.
That's an unhealthy complex I developed in childhood where I have feelings for people who make fun of me, and I really need to earn your... I want to feel like I'm chasing
love.
you.
So he moves to Del Rio, Texas for the express reason that he knows while he doesn't have he doesn't have broadcast rights in the United States anymore. He got banned for the stuff that he was doing. He's like, I can get it in Texas or in
Mexico.
In Mexico, right across the border, live in Texas. And so he opens up this radio station in literally right on the other side of the border.
Yeah,
like you can see it from the fence. I don't know if there's a fence yet. But you could see it
from the Great Wall.
And the amount of like the offer that the country of Mexico gave to this guy is absurd. They gave him a 500,000 watt radio station. It was there was 2 radio towers that were connected by this radio array. It is the most powerful privately held radio station to ever exist.
What?
The broadcast range of this went to Canada, like well into Canada from the border. And so he could broadcast to basically the whole country from right on the other side of the border because this was such a massive radio array. Okay. And Mexico did it basically to be like, screw you guys.
Yeah.
And because it was in Mexico and Mexico didn't have any legislation yet, he could now broadcast whatever he wants.
Sure.
And so now the entire U.S. and Canada
is hearing about goat glands.
And Mexico is hearing about his goat glands. He's doing the same broadcasts he was doing.
And he's in Mexico. They got goats.
Yeah, they got all kinds of goats in Mexico. And so he continues doing his goat gland surgery now in Del Rio. Moves into a hotel.
It's going pretty well.
Moves into a hotel and rents out a couple rooms in the hotel as his practice.
Okay.
Which, if you're going
to get and then you show up to
a Motel 6,
Hampton Inn,
and they're like, "Yeah, he'll see you in room 478."
Oh, sorry.
Don't go to
476.
78 is someone from, I don't know, Albuquerque or
That's
something.
a family on vacation. They're not going to help you.
They won't. But be careful. Be careful. The dude at 79 will cut you up too, but he's not a doctor. He's
and
not
480
one of
is just full of goats. That's where he keeps all the goats.
It's like overflowing. He's got to push the door shut.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's like,
and the housekeepers that's sheep.
Goats baa too.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
No.
They baa and they scream.
They don't baa.
Goats do baa.
No. They go, There's not.
That's the exact same
different sound. No, it's not. Play it back, Connor. He was going, bah, and they go, ah.
Goats make a ba sound similar to the sound a sheep makes.
No,
however, goat vocalations are closer to what's called a bleat, which is a sound also sometimes made by cows and deer.
Lower.
Interesting. No. Anyways, so he's running out of this hotel, and it goes well. He ends up buying the hotel and turning the whole hotel into his practice, and he puts a neat little sign on it and calls it the Brinkley Hospital. In Del Rio, Texas.
Even though it's not.
And now he's got an empire. He's got
sure.
His radio station's doing super well. Like he's actually broadcasting country music stars on this radio now that are like getting their start on it.
Sure.
And he's got his hospital that's crushing as well. The radio station thing becomes such a big deal. A bunch of other competitors start opening up radio stations along the border, and it becomes this thing known as border blasting, which sounds different, but it's just running a radio station on the border. Becomes a huge success from border blasting. Success from border blasting, and is raking in the dough. Manages in Del Rio, Texas, to open up or to build just a giant home, which is now on.
Very good picture.
Here's the he's got Dr. Brinkley on his gate.
Yeah. Does this house still exist?
Yeah, it's on the National Register of Historic Places.
Oh, wow.
So
you know what sucks?
What?
It's like now that's like not a mansion. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, now that's I mean, that still will cost you.
That's a house.
$7 billion.
No.
This will still probably cost $3 million.
Does the gate still say Dr. Brinkley?
I don't think so. I don't think the gate's there anymore.
Oh.
Which seems, but yeah, it's on the National Register of Historic Places. He continued running his radio station and his.
How long is he doing this?
I mean, this is into the 50s now.
He's been doing this for 20 years now.
Yeah, he's been doing it for decades. Operating.
Are people dying because of the goat glands?
So there's about 32 people that you can say their death was tied to the goat glands. There's a few you can say for sure they got an infection from the goat gland thing and that killed them.
Okay.
There's a handful more where it's like they could have been the glands that killed them. It could have been something that just coincidentally happened at the same time.
Okay.
But most of it was they got infections and they died. And so yeah, it's becoming a serious thing. Fishbein is still on his tail. Fishbein this whole time has been releasing articles in the American Medical Association journals trying to slander his name, but he doesn't have like a lot of power. He's trying to do everything he can to take this guy down, but this guy's just too rich. He's got too much on him.
Okay.
And so Fishbein enters into a lawsuit against him, basically being like, you're operating under a fake diploma and you're doing stuff that's actually killing people. Like you should not be.
You can't call yourself a doctor. Yeah,
you can't call yourself a doctor. And so he tries to countersue him for defamation.
Okay.
And dramatically loses this lawsuit. Ends up getting hit in the 50s with a $3 million settlement that he has to pay, which bankrupts him. Has to sell his radio station. Has to sell
because he countersued.
Yeah, because he tried to do that countersuit. So he ends up having to sell the hotel, his radio station, his home, loses everything in that suit, and is no longer able to practice medicine. And so without access to his ability to do medicine and without access to his radio station, he's pretty much lost his ability to make any money. And so that was kind of the end of the story for him. He ended up suffering three heart attacks and got his leg amputated. Sorry.
Okay.
I don't know why.
3 heart attacks and got his leg amputated?
Yeah, it just feels so unrelated. Like,
okay.
The leg amputation.
But he put a goat leg on there.
Give me a goat leg.
Like one knee goes forward and one knee goes back, you know?
But goats are so much shorter, so it only goes down just past his knee. Like he's got this weird diagonal stance.
Yeah, when he walks, it's really weird. He just goes in circles.
He's like, I tried to tell him to just put a goat gland in there, but they put the whole leg.
I went under and I woke up like this.
They didn't even give me a tall one. They got the shortest one in the, what are they called? The kids? The pack?
The pack?
I don't know. So he
goes, no one tell Sally about this, please. She'll make fun of me so much for this.
So brutal, I can't face her.
Oh, little goat boy. Oh no. I hate it, but I also like it. Oh, I have more than external problems.
So he ended up getting buried in Tennessee for some reason, Memphis, Tennessee. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, he was a put me near Elvis.
And so he got buried there, and he had this like monument with a angel at the top of it. And in 2017, someone stole the angel. So now it's a monument, a really tall monument with just the angel's foot at the top of it. So that's the story.
Would have been funnier if they left the whole leg.
That's the story of John R. Brinkley, a man who managed to scam a bunch of people with a fake medical license.
How long after the lawsuit did he die?
I think
like how long did he live poor at the end? You know,
let's see, like 4 or 5 years.
Oh, not very long.
And so or no, 3 years. So he survived off of a fake medical license for decades, running with a fake medical license. Was a pioneer in broadcast radio and advertising. Started border blasting, which was a huge deal through the 30s and 40s, and had a political career of sorts. And it's all thanks to the goat glands.
Wow.
That's John R. Brinkley.
And his dad was married 5 times. That was a detail that was relevant to the story, wasn't it?
I just wanted to get the fact that there's so many Sallys in his life. More Sallys than makes sense. That's the reason.
Isn't a female goat called Sally?
Shut up. Are you serious?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I'm joking.
Yeah. I don't know.
What are you doing?
I'm trying to see if it's...
Yeah.
No, they're nannies.
Yeah. Yeah, they're nannies. It was close.
Nannies, it's close.
Whatever.
Anyways, fiddle them off.
Hey, thanks for watching this episode of Things I Learned Last Night. If you like our show, please subscribe so you don't miss any more in the future. And then we've also got like clips and other episodes and a bunch of other stuff that we've created. We've been doing this show for a long time, but we're glad that you're here now. So please go enjoy our other stuff. Or if you hated us, please just block us. I know never come back. Never be here again. I never want to hear from you.